Good morning, Bitcoiners. Hello. Pardon me, you caught me having my sip. The thing went a little fast. I try and take a preemptive sip sometimes, but how you doing? How you doing? I'm loving my life. I'm loving my life. I had to save a sip. I realized I was taking my last sip as I was drinking it, but I need to save one for when we have a sip together in a few minutes. I also have a minor problem. You know, the best thing about Apple devices, do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? The best thing that everybody raves about. It's the design. I don't know if I can show you. It's the design of the mouse charger. So I don't really have access to the mouse for this morning because it doesn't work when you charge it, right? And I'm using the rattiest charger ever because I don't have many USB chargers left because they got rid of the USB port, right? Of course. So I can't even plug it into, I don't have a USB to the, whatever this stupid one was for the old iPhones, this thing. So my kids destroy cables like it's their hobby. They just demolish them. And so it's going to be a little hard. I'm at 1% battery. I almost couldn't go live. And this thing I'm telling you, it charges so slow. I'll give you an update at the end of what I'm at as far as battery charging. It's the dumbest thing. I had this last week with my stupid keyboard. Same thing. Apple, I'm not going to freak out, but it's just the dumbest thing. So I can't actually put your comments on for a little while. I have to unplug this. What a clever design. Oh my God, they're the best. Who wouldn't design a mouse that makes it inoperable when you're actually charging it? It's just great. It's so good. And you know, the battery dies in like, it lasts maybe 2 months, something stupid like that. So it's really the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't understand how I'm still using Apple devices. Like I can't understand. I can't stop. I'm really excited about seeing those prototypes of the X phone, but it's probably going to be shit too. So we'll see what happens, but it's a bit much, you know. But finally, I think I got some kind of thing going on with the devices and how I use the iCloud. It's finally getting a little better. The desktop and the laptop don't have as much of a lag when it comes to updating the iCloud. So I haven't had to deal with that thing that really freaks me out when I make the photo album and then it doesn't come on the iPad and it's a surprise to me and I can't find it and it puts it all out of order. So the new system is working a little better. So I'm happy about that. We're getting there. We're getting there. All right. Zappa BTC says, good morning and good day. I'm just going to have to read them to you again. Our excellent Apple engineering, right? We're going to talk about engineers today. We like engineers, right? Again, I'm going to show you how brilliant they are, all right? Jason Cadell says, good morning, Breakup Gang. Let's get at it today. That's what we're doing. Narwhal Tacos. Good morning, Rumble fam. Good morning, Narwhal. Matt Fry. Good morning, team. T-Dog. Yo, yo, yo. With a good morning, Breakup Gang. Mandela Effect update. I saw someone with an actual VHS cassette of the Berenstain Bears. And they're the Berenstain Bears. Because there's a big debate right now. Is it the Berenstain or the Berenstain? I remember the Berenstain Bears. That's what I remember. Until those large Hadron Collider folks came out and made them the Stain Bears. Who would have even read that? The Stain Bears? I don't know. But someone actually had it. So there you go. Bitcoin Deb, howdy y'all. And she's got a autumnal scene, and it is autumnal out there. Bitcoin Deb, autumnal is one of my favorite words. I love saying it. And I was out in Vermont a month ago, and up in the top of the mountains it was already getting red and orange and yellow. Was it a month ago? It was when I went for the licensed driving scam thing that I was up to. And then it's still not solved. 2 more weeks, maybe, something like that. And then but having been in Vermont again this weekend, it's everywhere. We got the red leaves everywhere. It's coming. It's still the minority. They're still not everywhere, not absolutely everywhere, but should be another 3 weeks, and then we'll be in the thick of it up in the north. There you go. Drew, good morning, guys. Good morning, Drew. Hope you're doing well. I'm trying to feed back to you what you're giving me in the comments because I can't show them if you're just coming in I'm dealing with the Apple. My favorite thing to ever get is when I have to charge my mouse right before I need it, and it doesn't work when you charge it. So we're doing our best without a mouse on a desktop. Edwin, good morning, breakup crew. Edwin, I shall be contacting you in the next week or so. I think I have to take a trip to New York this month, and I need your help. So I'm going to talk to you, Edwin. Edwin and I had a good hangout when he came to see my event at Pubkey in Greenwich Village, New York City, and we had a good time. Dafina, live long and prosper with Bitcoin. Tommy D, good morning, Bitcoiners. Good morning, Tommy D. Crypto Truth, good morning, gang. Coffee in hand. Crickets staring up from me from my plate. Crypto Truth, you just poke them back, okay? Just keep them on the plate. You don't want those crickets bouncing, right? There's nothing worse than a bouncing cricket. You think I've had a tough morning, right? With my mouse. Forget about bouncing crickets off your plate. You don't want that. Veterans Cannabis, good morning. Bitcoin breakup breakfast sunshine crew, indeed. David, good morning, team. And I got another one of these, right? Everyone's on Nostr these days. T-Dog Yo-Yo saying Berenstein gang for life. Indeed. T-Dog Yo-Yo-Yo. The Large Hadron Collider is taking more away from us than we can even estimate. It's no good. Double B, indeed. We're loving it, Double B. Good morning, crew. Good morning, CB. Hope you're doing well. All right. Let's just acknowledge that the sun came up this morning. It was a beauty. It was a beauty. It's moving along, and it was nice and red. Got the heat coming back. We're going to talk about the heat in a second, where it's hot, right? It's a lot of hot places today. You're not going to believe it. You're not even going to believe where it's hot today. It's like, who would have guessed? Who would have guessed where it's hot today? We're going to find out. So it's happening. The sun is up. Bitcoin's running. And I'm having my last sip of coffee. I'll be making a new one after the show. Indeed. So let's get started with our favorite section, Moscow time, which now begins with the weather report. What is the weather like? Where is it hot? Moscow time. We're ready. Where is it hot? It turns out it's hot in China, everyone. China sweltered through its hottest summer on record this year, with staple crops from rice to corn suffering from the extreme heat and high power demand pressuring the nation's grid. China, hot in the summer. I just don't know what's the world coming to, everyone. What's it coming to? Where else is it hot? It's hot. You're not going to believe this, guys. You're not going to believe it. Southern California is hot again. Southern California, excessive heat warnings are in effect Wednesday through Friday across much of Southern California. Far southern Nevada. It's hot in Las Vegas, too. This global warming is going everywhere. Southern California and Nevada at the same time, and southern China. Jeez. Southwest Arizona, too. We're never getting out of it. It's also hot in western US. It will bake. It's going to bake in high temperatures, right? And that's all the way back to Vegas, Phoenix, LA, Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon's hot. Now that's something. Portland, Oregon. You never would have thought you'd see that in the summer, but there it is. But there's more, folks. There is a particular hotspot, and everyone's talking about it. It's Phoenix. We heard about it in the last one. Now, hold yourself. Just stay in your chair. This might make you actually fall out of your chair. You might faint. The heat might come over the internet and actually make you too hot to watch this show. Yeah, 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the California desert. I heard they got heat warnings in Germany today, in Hamburg. I had a breakup crew let me know. They got it at 26 degrees, right? That's like that's almost 75. It's almost 80. Good thing they have the heat alert, though. Good thing we have technology and we can warn people if it's in the 70s, right? If it's in the 70s, you got to start really, you got to make all of the stuff red when you go on your phone. If it's in the 70s, it's got to go red immediately, right? So that you could burn outside. We got to help people. We can't let them burn, right? We don't want to do that. Now, what would you do here? Phoenix, according to Axios, Phoenix hits 100 days of 100 degrees with no end to the streak in sight. There's no end. Now, I've been warning you about this all summer, right? We heard from Canada itself. Canada is normally in the north and it gets cold, and normally they had 4 seasons, but we heard it wasn't going to end in Canada this year. It looks like the predictions they made in Canada about it not ending are coming true. Phoenix remains hot even though it's September. Even though it's September, right? I told you I got leaves changing. I expect the temperatures to change, right? But I don't know what's going on. There's more about Phoenix, though. Summers in Phoenix are notoriously hot, but after 2 punishing summers of record-breaking heat, the latest milestone set Tuesday may be more ominous. It may be more ominous. It's going to get hotter in Phoenix, you know? And people normally think, Phoenix, it rises from the ashes. It survives burning. Not this time. Not this time. This is different, okay? There's more to it. There's not just that. We've also got this. The city of Phoenix, Arizona offers a vision. It offers a vision of America's future. This is what I was warning you about, right? When I said the Canadians don't know when summer and the heat is going to end, right? It's because they were looking to Phoenix for a vision of the future, right? Now, I know what you're going to say. You know, Canada's in the north and they've never had historical temperatures similar to Phoenix, Arizona in the desert, but climate change, guys, it's changing, okay? So Phoenix, you know, some people think it's a desert and it's kind of its own ecosystem and it's its own climate. Nope, because of climate change, Phoenix is the future of everywhere. Phoenix is the future, right? So Phoenix offers a vision of America's future. In the valley, right? So in the valley, here's what's making it so hot. Hyper-partisanship and climate change collide. The collision, this was not known to Newton, okay? Newton, you know, he had the law of preservation of energy, right? The thermodynamic control of energy, input equals output, every action equal an opposite reaction, right? What he didn't know, right, was that if you take politics and you mix it with climate change, it creates new physical forces, right? It's like quantum physics. Newton didn't know about quantum physics, right? So there's a whole source of energy out there that comes from people talking about the politics, right? So you get the Kamala people. The Kamala people bring the temperature down. I'm going to fill in the blanks, right? They bring it down because they hope and they pray. But then the Trump people, they can't stop talking like Trump. He's full of hot air, right? He's full of hot air. So he pushes the hot air out, and then guess what happens, right? It hits the climate change. The hot air coming from the political rhetoric hits the climate change, and then bang, it's 100 days of 100 degrees in Phoenix. It's not rising from the ashes. It's terrible. It offers a vision of the future, right? The city's fate could foretell the nations. The hot air and the climate change mean it's just 100 all the time now. That's what's coming to Canada. All right, I predict right here that we're going to have 100 straight days of 100 degrees, even in the winter in Canada soon, any day now, any day. And guess what? Even if we don't get there, you know, you talk about Phoenix and what's happening in the future, right? What's going to happen in Phoenix and all these places with this crazy weather. And what are we going to do? Guess what? This is what's about. I predict it's going to happen today in Phoenix. After 100 days, there's no way this can't happen. Climate change can cause bridges to fall apart like Tinker Toys. The experts said, they're here and they're telling us about the new physical reality of hot air and climate change mixing, and then the bridges fall like Tinker Toys. It's like you're sitting there, it's 100 degrees. I got a bridge out here, right? You've seen this bridge. Look, I'll show you. I'll go back. Oh, it's not in this picture. Sorry. Normally you can see it. We got a big bridge in Montreal, right? It's called the Champlain Bridge. It's a great big bridge. And luckily it's not 100 degrees today. It's a brand new bridge, right? But the next time it's 100, Tinker Toy, it's just going to go, this is going to be gone, right? So I'm not going to drive across that bridge to Vermont next time because it might be 100 degrees soon because it's never going to end, especially if we've got alt-right people in Montreal talking about climate change and how it's not there, and then they have political fights, and then the hot air comes out of them, and then bang, the bridges fall, right? Like Tinker Toys. Extreme heat and flooding are accelerating the deterioration of bridges, engineers say, posting a quiet but growing threat. The bridges are coming down, guys. What are we going to do? Hot heat. So here's my prediction. Arizona, okay, Phoenix is going to be a bridgeless city in no time. It's going to be a beautiful city, but no bridges. They're not going to make it. It's going to be too hot over there. You know, everybody knows. Everybody sees it. It's just the climate change in ours. But you know, so you don't come here for all this bad news. I've been warning you all morning. Bridges are going to fall. It's like 75 degrees in California and Germany, and then 100 degrees in Phoenix. Who'd have seen that? And I heard it was hot in China, right? All these places it's hot. Well, I brought you a bunch of good news yesterday. I'm always full of good news. I got more, right? You want more good news? I got more good news for you. Here it is, right? Kamala Harris is good for the planet, guys. She's good for the planet because she doesn't have the hot air coming out of her mouth. And so it doesn't hit the climate change. It doesn't create the new Newtonian, quantum physics stuff about the weather. So that's what's going on, right? So that's what's going on. And it's just crazy that people don't recognize that Kamala Harris is good for the planet. Now, you could say, normally, you would say she's good for America or good for politics or good for Democrats or good for women. No. She's so good that she's good for the planet. The planet, right? So now that was our weather report. Luckily, it blended into our report on U.S. politics. We're going to do more on the election. But first, right, Kamala doing great for the planet. Now that we know that, it's awesome. Guess what? Guess who else is doing great? Guess who else is doing better than anyone thought? According to the Washington Post, there are a number of possibilities as to why President Biden is seeing his best polling numbers in years. I mean, I get it. He was out on the beach and he was having a great time. And people were like, look at that guy on the beach. He's so cool. He's so awesome. He's chilling, maxing and relaxing in the summer. That's what people want to do, right? That's the thing. That's what people want to. They want to see someone they admire and then they want to model their life after him. And it was so hot. You want to go to the beach, right? You want to go to the beach. So it could undercut a key Trump strategy because they were saying, oh, he's old, he's stupid. These dumb Trump people were saying, oh, he's got dementia, right? Remember that? That was so mean. It was so rude and all that stuff. But now his polling numbers are there. And it says Biden is suddenly seeing his best polls in years. His best polls in years. It's amazing. Good for him. I'm so glad it's happening. Couldn't have happened to a better guy, right? Couldn't have happened to a better guy. That's for sure. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is out there expressing contempt for family members, military members who've been wounded or killed. The Atlantic Daily asks how America has become so tolerant. How is America's just there? Like when I look at Democrats, they're so tolerant of Trump, despite all of the hot air and he's causing global warming and all this stuff. But they're so tolerant of him, right? All I see is tolerance from the tolerant left wing in American politics. They're so tolerant. They're so great. And they're tolerating him, right? But some have become, why did they become so tolerant, right? He's only shown disdain for the U.S. military, yet people are tolerant of him. What is going on here? What really is going on, right? He's everyone's so tolerant of him. Where does this tolerance come from, right? Now, next thing you know, they're tolerant of these people. And look what these people are doing. They're showing the original flag from the 13 colonies and the revolution. That's warmongering. They're warmongering, right? It says right here, the flags of the far right reveal how extremist ideology is evolving, right? That was about a revolution, guys. They're promoting more revolution with this flag. That's not an American flag. That's an alt-right revolutionary flag now, okay? Because the Atlantic is telling you they're totally honest and legit. They just want you to know, hey, If you think that that flag was about the 1776 revolution against England and the 13 colonies who each had a star, you know, if that's what you think, okay, you're not keeping up with stuff. All right. That was back when it was below not even 100 degrees in Phoenix. Phoenix wasn't even a part of America, so they didn't have any global warming back then. Okay. It wasn't even hot, probably. And so it probably wasn't, I don't know. But when I look at old pictures of America, like when George Washington had to spend the winter in Valley Forge, it looked cold, right? And now if he was in Philadelphia today near Valley Forge, it would be hot. So clearly the climate changed. And just like the climate changed, the flag meaning changed. Okay. It used to be at the beginning of the country, very okay. Now it's an alt-right flag, right? So, and like they said, right, you can have these flags and they could be hiding in plain sight. Like some guy could just be like, oh, I like US history and I like 1776 and I'm going to fly a flag about 1776. But then you wouldn't know the difference if one neighbor was doing that all into 1776 and stuff, and then your other neighbor was into Trump and he put that flag up. How would you know? You wouldn't. Get it? Okay, get it? So it doesn't work that way. You can't just do it. It doesn't work that way. So 1776, a different time, right? So sometimes hiding in plain sight. Ali Brie land. I don't know who that is. Ali or A Libra land, or maybe that's A Libra land, A free land. That could be what it means. Libra, right? Libre. Explores some of the most prominent symbols from Betsy Ross to Trump Rambo, right? And now this flag, you don't even want to know what the upside down flag's about, right? That's even wicked racist. That's even worse. Okay. So meanwhile, like I said, Kamala, good for the planet. Biden never. What's up with the pole bump? Whoa. Meanwhile, Trump hates all of these military people and his racist flags, and it's all the worst, right? And then the tolerant people. How do people still tolerate him? How after all of this? I ask you, I don't even know. Meanwhile, his buddy, that's Trump's buddy, right? He's going to be working for Trump. We're going to talk about that today, right? His buddy, right? Meanwhile, his buddy is out there. Guess what he did? Guess what his buddy did, right? Talk about hot air. He says he's out there trying to save the world with his electric cars. Meanwhile, he runs AI. You know how much electricity AI uses? And then not only that, he uses AI to trick people, right? That's what the Hill caught him, though. The Hill, they're so smart. The people at the Hill, they're so smart. Now, you'd think, how do I get fresh out of college writers who only have a liberal arts education, and how do I get people and then pay them $30,000 to $40,000 a year, 30 to 40,000 US trash tokens a year? You know, you'd think maybe that wouldn't get you people who are so perceptive and people who could use, who could analyze things and all that stuff, right? That's what you'd think. But meanwhile, we got they're basically kids. They're basically kids, and they didn't get fooled. They caught him, right? He tried to put an AI picture on the internet, and he did it, of Kamala Harris dressed as a communist, as a Soviet communist. And I saw that. I said, oh my God, is she a Soviet communist? I didn't know it was fake. Who could have known it was fake? I didn't know. Good thing the Hill writers, they're so good. This is the future, right? This is the future of these guys. They're so good. They caught him. And they said, we caught you, Elon. You put fake images of Kamala in communist garb, and you thought you could get away with it. You can't get away with it, right? You can't. There's no getting away with that. You just can't do it, right? So luckily, we caught him. Luckily, he didn't get away with it. And you want to know what else happened to him yesterday? It's not just that he got caught. Look at this. Musk's Twitter investors have lost billions in value, okay? They've lost billions because the stock market went down. And then the money they had that they put that was in Twitter shares, X shares, that went down. So now, I mean, Prince Al-Wahid bin Talal Al-Sud, right? They say he's down 1.4 billion in value. What's he going to do? He's going to have to say, hey, Elon, I need the money. Let's go. Jack Dorsey, right? Sequoia Capital, Binance, Andreessen Horowitz, Qatar Investment Authority, Larry Ellison. These guys don't have money. They're gonna need it. They're gonna need it back. They're gonna need it back. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. So, such an idiot, right? He goes out and he loses billions of dollars. Jeez. Look, he's down. Look, he got 33 billion, right? And now it's only worth 10 billion. The difference is 24 billion of shareholder values gone. What are we going to do? I mean, pack it up, right? We're out. What else do we got, right? And he's out there trying to do election stuff. You know, he's losing all this money, Elon, right? He's got his friend Trump gas bagging, causing global warming, right? And now, meanwhile, he's kicked out of Brazil. But guess what? According to the Washington Post, right? And I believe them. No X in Brazil, no problemo. Brazilians say. Brazilians really say that. They're like, it's cool, man. We don't need no Twitter. We don't need X. We're cool. We're chilling. We're in Brazil. We're playing some volleyball. We're surfing. We're going to go hang out in the rainforest. Everything's chill, man. It's cool. No problemo. I don't know how to say problemo. Like I say it Spanish style, like Mexican. I don't know how to say it in Portuguese, right? But it's something like problemo, I bet, right? So no problemo. It's fine. Just like they say, Brazil, a nation of 250 million, was an early and enthusiastic adopter of Twitter, they say, a platform now known as X. It was credited with mobilizing massive and wide-ranging protests in 2013, then helping to propel former President Jair Bolsonaro's rise to power. But they don't care. They're like, Twitter, it's so filled with white supremacists and Trump ethnic Christian nationalists, right? So it's fine. Just shut it down. It's so stupid, right? They're so cool. They're so chill with this. They're like, chill. We're doing great in Brazil. No X in Brazil. No problemo. It's fine. Don't worry about it, right? No problems. Now that's, election stuff, right? They're having all kinds of election machine questions in Brazil. What happened? It was all US machines, right? It's fine. Politico's letting us know hacking blind spots. States struggle to vet coders of election software, right? So look, we already know that there can be some hackers, but they're probably not going to do anything in America, right? It says here that in New Hampshire, a cybersecurity firm found troubling security bugs and the Ukrainian national anthem written into a voter database built with the help of an overseas subcontractor. I'm just going to pretend like this is totally fine. Like, let's write an article like this and just move on. We'll fix it as we go. Okay. We'll fix it as we go. It's okay if the election system is just a little bit hackable. It's okay, right? It's okay. Cause I've been told, I'm sure, because it's all good people involved. It's all good people, right? That even though the reward for stealing an election in the United States is probably the greatest reward in the world, right? It's financially, right? And that there's no chance of being caught because there's no auditability of the system. I know everyone loves America so much they wouldn't cheat even if there was no way to get caught and there was only upside. It's human nature, right? We know it's human nature to just do the right thing. Even if there's no risk of getting caught because there is no way to get caught, because there is no auditability, even if the reward for cheating is the greatest reward ever created by mankind, I bet our discipline is going to be fine, right? We love our country and we love America, and everyone is going to do the right thing. I can see it. It's just... So I think I'm glad they brought it up, right? I'm glad they mentioned this. It's fine, but there's better ways. And if you didn't know, right? Look, it's not even a problem, right? The Associated Press writes here yesterday, illegal voting by non-citizens, it's just rare. It's rare, right? So let's not exaggerate how bad it is. It's rare, right? It hardly ever happens. Now, because we don't know how to audit the election system itself, we don't know how much, but like I said, we have so many patriots in America There's so many people who love America, right? And there's signs up, like I can see only citizens vote. If I went in there and I saw that sign, I go, oh, I shouldn't do this then. Oh. So, right? So illegal voting by non-citizens is rare. It's rare. All right. Yet Republicans, it's only rare, yet they're making it a major issue with the election, because they're out there saying, hey, if we don't have credible elections, we don't have anything. And then the other guys, the Democrats are like, wrong. We have our integrity. We know we don't have to force these stupid people who can't get ID. We don't have to force the not so educated people to go and figure out how to get ID. Because that would be, you could be rude, right? That's pretty rude, right? You could be rude, or you can just be okay. Like, this is fine. It's fine. It's rare, right? It's rare. And then over here, it's like, it gets hacked, but we're going to figure it out, right? So it's fine. It's fine, everyone. It's rare. I just wish, like everyone, people wouldn't make a big issue about it, right? Because it's like, come on, like, there's such good systems, right? We have such a great election system. Who would complain? I got a lot of problems with people who complain about such a good election system, right? I really do. And that's why the New York Times has been letting us know, don't flip out. Don't flip out over election forecasts. Don't flip out, right? It's fine. It's rare that non-citizens vote. And it's like, we found some of the software stuff, like, that's okay, right? But don't flip out. And I'll give you another reason why you shouldn't flip out over the election forecasts, right? I'll give you another reason why you shouldn't flip out. Don't worry, right? Axios, RFK's name must be on the Michigan ballot despite endorsing Trump. A judge said that. And judges know everything about election integrity, right? Judges, to become a judge in America, I'm not sure this is the case. I'm not sure, but I'm almost positive, just because I'm rational and I use deduction and logic, right? Because I'm a logical person. So I'm just going to apply logic to to fill in the blanks here. It's like the world gets more complicated, and judges were stupid at one time as far as technology goes, and as far as coordinating decentralized databases. It wasn't really something they knew, right? But then computers came along, and this is what happened. In America, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, in the aughts, up until now, all judges have been going to computer science school. All judges understand the interactions between firmware, software, hardware, man-in-the-middle attacks. They're experts on all forms of cryptography. They're just, not only that, they understand the theory behind decentralized database integrity and how you get decentralized databases to reach a consensus that has some credibility, right? They're all experts in this. I know it. Now, there's no proof, and the judges that I've met didn't know how to use a mouse, right? I've met a few judges that didn't know how to use a mouse, but they're not the ones they used for this case. They got the judges, right, that understood everything about election integrity. And those judges are the ones that we should listen to, right? They're the ones who said all the time that there was no standing in the 2020 election, right? Because they know how to audit instantly the firmware, software, hardware of all of these components and all of these systems. So obviously it's fine. Now, I know 2 articles ago they said that they didn't know anything about technology and they got hacked and they moved on and didn't even care. Doesn't sound right. Judges are good, right? Judges are good people, right? They're good people. So that's what's going on with RFK, right? So he has to stay on the ballot. That's not election interference, people. That's not. Mark Cuban said it wasn't. We're going to talk about Mark Cuban in a second, right? But first, Mark Cuban did something pretty funny. And Mark Cuban, came to a bit of a conclusion talking about all this election stuff. He says, whose persona and character would you like to see young children grow up to? And he made a poll. He got millions of votes. Trump won, right? But it's on X. Remember what we were just talking about with Elon Musk and his right-wing stuff? It's all there, right? And then guess what X does? You're not going to believe this. And good thing Mark Cuban caught them, right? So imagine X allows polls and voting type things to happen anonymously. And Mark Cuban caught them. He says, great point. How nice it would be to get rid of anonymous accounts on Twitter. How nice. And then they couldn't have a poll because he caught them here. He says, the point of this poll, right? What happened here was anonymous people started voting. Anonymous people started voting, right? So thank God Mark Cuban caught them. Thank God. Because now I get it. Elections for America they don't need ID for that because that's racist. But on Twitter, if you know how to get on the internet and you're on Twitter already, you need ID to be able to participate in a poll. Okay, that's only right, because you can't make that excuse that you're not smart enough to know where to get the ID and to find out the address of the DMV so you can get your driver's license. Because reality check, you're already on X. You're already on X. You know where the internet is. You know how to get on the internet. You know where to get ID. So you don't get an excuse, right? It's not the same as voting. It's not the same as voting for president of the United States and in all the elections. It's not the same. Okay. So thankfully, Mark Cuban is not stupid. He knows the difference, right? And he had more to say. He had more to say about what's going on with RFK. That wasn't it. That's our Moscow time for today. But he had more to say, right? So RFK goes on, right? And Mark Cuban. He says, unclear whether Mark Cuban is being coy or genuinely doesn't recognize the intense. Here, let me get this down here. I have notes, So Mark Cuban also said, I'm just looking at some of your comments. Sorry, I can't put them up here. I'm still not powerful enough on the battery. So Amuse says, right, it's unclear whether Mark Cuban is being coy or genuinely doesn't recognize the intense, well-funded efforts to block RFK from the November ballot. Notably, Democrat-aligned groups such as Clear Choice Action actively pursued lawsuits in states like New York, successfully removing RFK Jr. after a trial, although he's appealing the decision. In New York alone, he faced 13 legal challenges from multiple Democrat entities. Additionally, state Democrat parties like those in Nevada and Delaware also took legal steps to prevent his candidacy. In New Jersey, non-affiliated Democrat election lawyers applied the state's sore loser law to keep him off the ballot. After his loss in New York, RFK Jr. knew that he would be facing cut and paste lawsuits in every state. That was the driving factor for his ultimate withdrawal from the race. He simply couldn't afford the litigation to stay in the race. Mark Cuban either knows this or should know this, right? So Mark Cuban is another one of these people where I don't really know if he can use his IQ as a way out. Like, he's a pretty smart guy. But again, Mark Cuban weighing in the way he is, sort of chipping in at the edges here, sniping from the wings onto main stage, the way he is becoming less and less effective. And it's becoming less effective because it's being seen for what it is. Either he's stupid, which I doubt, or he's a liar, right? So it's the lying or stupid binary that you can sort of put on a lot of these characters, right? Lying or stupid. Normally, you should always believe someone is stupid before they're lying, but it's very difficult with Mark Cuban, right? Now, he's just everyone, Mark Cuban, me, anybody can be persuaded by echo chambers and certain things like that. And there's certain ways that you're not going to get out of it, right? But the good news is we're having ways out of this all the time. And it's coming from all of these really incredible podcasting things we've been talking about for a while. And there was a great one that Eric Weinstein was on. And in that podcast, Eric Weinstein predicts that Trump will never ascend to be president this time, because he says what democracy has basically become are the institutions themselves. The democratic institutions now are democracy. It's not a way you live or anything like that. It is literally the institutions, and therefore there's sort of a circling of the wagons thing around these institutions, the media, academia, banking, all of these things. So what he was talking about yesterday, Eric Weinstein, was the system has an allergic reaction to Trump, and everything about the system is about keeping Trump, who threatens the system at its sort of integral layer, at its base layer, that the whole system now is designed to reject him and reject anything that comes with him, like Elon or anything else. So he comes and breaks down in this thing, right? He refers to the global oligarch as the other democracy, unironically. He says the structure is in place to prevent war and residual conflict from World War II. So we've been saying this for a long time, right? We've been telling you that what we've seen in the world from World War II, the analogy I often use is that we created this big aircraft carrier that was the US Inc. And we used that to win World War II, but we never shut it off. And it just continued to hum and move and go along. And so that's what we're doing, right? But all America does is start wars and fund them. When Donald J. Trump was in office, he was brokering peace deals as Russia, China, Iran, Korea had all backed off. I don't believe they want to keep out of power to protect us from potential World War II fallout. I believe it's to protect the military-industrial complex from the threat of peace, right? Now, I think Eric made a good prediction, right? He says the system it's allergic to Trump. It sees Trump as a type of cancer and will do anything it can. And that's sort of what's perpetuating it forward, right? But it's not that simple because the system itself is falling apart. And we'll talk about the system falling apart in a second. The Tate brothers did a whole thing yesterday, a whiteboard on it, on what the system actually is. Now, of course, the Tate brothers missed Bitcoin in their assessment, but we're going to put that in with a whiteboard we've done before. But indeed, that's why you've got what's her name going on about literally campaigning against free speech. I mean, when she did her thing about Twitter, she talked about how Elon has lost his privilege, to own a company, right? Now, this is an old one, right? This clip was a few years old. It's from when she was just a senator, but talking about how she'll shut X down. We mentioned this yesterday. But indeed, this is what's been going on and really shows how the system works together. And we'll talk about it with the Tate brothers thing, but this is our version. We've used this many times. This is Bitcoin contrasted with the Bretton Woods 2 and 3 systems, where nation states, speculators, oil, weapons, modern monetary theory, and especially sales and marketing become a huge component, sort of pillars that keep the whole system up. Right, so you can put academia in, on the fringes here, but nevertheless, this whole system is what we're living in, and we're living through the collapse of this system. We're living through these pillars not being able to support. You should think of this three-dimensionally, with this center, the all-seeing eye, being the peak, the apex, and then all of these things sort of build up. But the foundations are the nation state, speculators, and sales and marketing folks. Now, Giacomo Zucco is the original inventor of this. I tweaked it a little and drew it, but this is how the system sort of lines up and works, right? But what we can see, and one of the most interesting things, just mentioning Kamala Harris's attack on Elon Musk. Now, look at the main difference. And this is one of our incredible advantages, right? Engineers overtaking the sales and marketing people. One of the neatest things about Elon in this pivot is that he is both of these things. He is the world's best sales and marketing guy, along with Trump. But he's also the world's best engineer. He's not technically an engineer, but obviously he thinks in terms of engineering and in terms of those kinds of problem solving. He can see the entire system as a machine. Now, I often used, when I left the Senate and was embarking on this new Bitcoin thing, I often told, because it was a I guess you could say a risk, right? And at the time they were senators and congressmen and things like that. That's sort of like, are you sure about this, right? Are you sure you know what you're doing? And I said, yeah, this is like, I can't think of doing anything else. I can't think of approaching this any other way. And their whole idea here was the, how do I explain it? They had a problem. They wanted to help me traverse this change in my life. And what I understood and what I was sort of hell bent on and was convinced of was the engineering aspect, that there was no fixing the system as it was. But I could see it as an engine. I could see it as a motor. And I could see that it was never going to get fixed. It had to be destroyed. The engineering mindset in that case, when something is so broken you don't know how to fix it, the engineering strategy is often to run it hot until it breaks. That's kind of what you do when you don't know how to fix something. You break it in a new way, and if you break it in a new way, you'll be able to maybe see a way out or how to fix it. Trump in 2016 was that to me, and I was explaining to those senators and people at the time. I said, look, whatever you guys are doing here in Congress and Parliament and with all this, it's not going to work. This is just before Trudeau came to power in Canada. And I said, look, it's a dead end street. None of this stuff is going to work anymore. We could get a better leader. It wouldn't make a difference. We can win an election. It wouldn't make a difference. There's too much systemic rot. And that's what brought me to Bitcoin. And I said, we got to start over. Bitcoin is the way to break the system and try something completely new. Trump is a big part of breaking the system because, like I said, he's a type of cancer to it and he gets rejected and he forces the architecture of deceit to show itself because they hate him so much. So that's why it comes out, right? And now when you think of, who's doing what, where, when, just look at this idea of seeing it like an engine, a skill that I had from working in parliamentary committees, seeing the media do its thing, working in the executive branch, working in the legislative branch, working out on the hustings and the campaign trail. I saw the whole thing across an entire, somewhat credible country like Canada. And so able to see all this stuff and able to perceive all this stuff, able to see what our chance was to get better, which was a complete systemic change. Now, what makes this interesting, when you hear Kamala talking about how he can't have a free speech platform, Elon Musk, Twitter, he has lost his privilege, right? That's why they're going after him in this way, right? That's why they're going after everything they're doing, because these folks who have been inside of this architecture of deceit, it's what's going on in Brazil. It's why all this action has been taken against Elon in Brazil. It's why he has all this trouble. And these things are out of order. What did I just do? That was not supposed to be the way. Let me see what's up. Just a second, guys. It's the no mouse thing. I'd forgotten the order of my stuff. Anyway, go back to let's go back to this one. Yeah. So again, Donald Trump was on the Lex Fridman podcast yesterday. So going back into the sales and marketing versus engineers, right? So first of all, the sales and marketing of the engineers is a thing now, right? That's what Elon is bringing. He's bringing these things, coordinated sales and marketing plus the engineering together. So Trump goes on the Lex Fridman podcast. I said, I didn't really watch it all. It was okay, right? I'm not a big Lex Fridman guy. It's a little boring, I find. I can't deal with the tone too much. But again, Bill Ackman talking about the difference here, right? So again, Bill Ackman comes in, we're talking about marketing, we're talking about sales, we're talking about selling a system, but we're also talking about selling a system and understanding how that system is made. So Bill Ackman says here, put aside any preconception you have about real Donald Trump and watch this long-form interview of Trump by Lex Fridman. You can learn much more about who someone is in this format compared with the curated excerpts of a biased media. Then consider why Kamala Harris won't accept Lex's invitation for an interview, which for Trump has already received more than 2 million views, and prefers the teleprompter. The Harris campaign is the first time in American history in which I'm aware that a presidential candidate is doing everything possible to avoid the media, right? So indeed, and just think of the odds. What are the odds that the Democrats have chosen 2 candidates in a row that are incapable of talking to the media? The odds are almost zero, right? That's a design question. That's a systemic question. That's a systemic response. They don't want the ad lib stuff. That's what Trump does. So they want the opposite, right? So, but again, go back to systems and go back to what's going on and understanding it that way. It's another one on that. But here now you have, and this is one of the things that came up in the Lex Fridman interview, is that Elon is going to join Trump's team to do the Motosierra, to do the Milei cut the government thing. Again, Elon can see the U.S. Inc., the U.S. federal government, Washington, D.C. as a machine created to win World War II, not necessarily predicated in the Constitution, not necessarily predicated in our needs and our wants and anything. It's just there. It's a blob. And exactly as Mike Benz describes it, right? Mike Benz has been the person to help us understand that system because he understands the sales and marketing aspect of it. Right? Go back to that sales and marketing aspect, right? This piece right here, well, really the whole thing, is what Mike Benz has been teaching us about for over a year now. This is the architecture of deceit. And when Mike Benz is talking about the architecture of deceit, and then you hear something like Elon joining Trump to do the Motosierra thing, and I believe Vivek is going to get on this team too. I think Elon and Vivek are going to be the main Motosierra guys. I think Elon is going to write the document on how to cut the federal government down to size, and Vivek is going to be the executive executor of that. And so here we go, right? Elon gets a role about waste. And this is real. Elon says there's a lot of waste and needless regulation in government that needs to go, right? So imagine Trump is getting the best engineer to help him with really tearing down the architecture of deceit. So it's a huge, huge change, and it really is what people need, right? It's what's coming next. And not only that, it's what's coming next, because we can see the system. Look at this story with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. We've told you from the start it was a fake relationship, right? We told you the whole time. We never took it seriously, obviously. We always believed it was fake. And now we find out that the contracts that they signed with the largest vaccine manufacturer and all of that stuff, all coordinated, all there. Now, I don't know if this is true. This could easily just be rumor mongering, but it turns out that Travis Kelce's team of lawyers leaked the contract that claimed to reveal the exact date his relationship with Taylor Swift would end. Fake PR strategy documents spread online gave illusion their year-long love story was a sham. It's real. Come on. True love exists. But there you go. The system is like that. Now, here's where things get really fun, right? Now we can hear all what's going to happen. The system hates Trump. No one's going to believe the election coming up in November. It's going to be the system, just like you hear Vivek explain all the time, right? Trump is not running against Kamala Harris. He's running against the system. He's running against the system we just mentioned. But by having people who know how to take the system down, how to deconstruct it, how to take things away is really important. And one of the secret ways that I don't think other people are looking at is the energy piece, right? So we see all this energy fighting, we see all this stuff, but this is one thing you've got to give credit to the Biden administration for. They've passed a Gen 4 nuclear reactor approval. Now, it's Trump and Elon who are going to take advantage of this, and it's Bitcoiners who are going to finance the hell out of building these things. But nevertheless, the stage is set. And whoever does this, right, because it's all going to be myth-making, narrative, astroturfing's the wrong way, narrative direction, let's say, right, narrative plowing. To win the election is not going to be on votes. It's going to be on who creates a actual vision of the future that more people join. Now, the sludge people are going to be told to go with Kamala, right? And that they might get a lot of people that way. But the other people who want cheap energy, who want energy to begin with, all of those people who are listening to podcasts and doing these things are going to join the vision sold by Trump and his band of pirates, or whatever you want to call this gang that he's put together. But it's the gang Trump has put together that's going to win him the election. It's not the individual actions of any of them. It's the gang together. It's understanding nuclear energy. It's understanding the deceit of the architecture that's been put in place. It's the Mike Benzes. It's the Bill Ackmans. It's the Viveks, it's the RFKs, it's the Nicole Shanahans who just can't miss, right? So you get all these people now, and they're the ones who are going to be supporting this new system. The whole system, this is a systemic change thing that we're watching, right? It's not a little bit, which is why I've been predicting Bitcoin 2024 forever. So Bitcoin now continues to be the main talking point as we go forward in this election. It's going to be the answer on energy. It's going to be the answer on freedom of speech. It's going to be the answer on many, many things. And it's going to continue to be at the center of the entire contrast between Trump and the old system. So I don't think we can lose, right? I think we're doing great. New system. It's a vibes election. Exactly. It's a vibes election. But that's what I mean. It is that, Bitcoin Deb. It is a vibes election. Right? It's all over for the system. Yeah. It's all over except the system. Well, the system's all over. Did I say it's all over except the system? It's all over. It is a vibes election. It is 100% a vibes election. But that's what vibes are. Vibes are we're going to have more fun with more energy, and we're going to not eat bugs. That's the vibe, okay? And we're going to be rich. The Chiefs back to winning was also a sham. Back-to-back winning was also a sham. It could be. I don't watch football. I just don't know. I only watch Canadian football. Not even. That's an old Kramer line. People that need to watch that interview have the attention span of a gnat, sadly. Yeah. Slow rot. After the election, we'll see if it hyper spreads or gets slightly slower. Rot is the best description of the system fall. Yeah. Well, again, you gotta use. I don't think it's a lack of common sense. If you knew what his motivations were and his incentives were, you'd probably find him to be full of common sense. Who knows what kind of blackmail he's living under? It doesn't look good. Whatever it is, I wouldn't trade Mark Cuban's life for anything right now. That guy looks like it's hell, living hell. It looks like living hell. Exceptional whiteboard schematic of systemic change flow. Thank you, veterans. We got judges that code. What? Yeah, imagine. Lance says, how can we trust Democrats? Democrats. They believe government. It's true. It's true. That's it. That's it. Poor baby. I thought I saw one from Noah Simpson. Let me see where it went. We're in the midst of a second revolution in America. We sure are. Yeah, we sure are. The one word that reveals someone is Canadian: out. Out. Oh, there we go. That's what I wanted to see. Noah says, hi, Breakup Gang. Finished the book, The Apprenticeship of Duty Kravitz. So good. Yeah, it is good. Huh? Read St. Urban's Horseman next. That's Duddy has a small role. Just like in Barney's version, it's the third one. Duddy has a small role, but they're all very good books. The Apprenticeship, or St. Urban's Horseman, is a lot of fun, and I think Barney's version was the best. It's the third one in the series. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, you got a sense of my hometown, Montreal. You get a real sense of the vibe there by reading those books. He's as Montreal as it gets. All right, team. That's all I got for today. I hope you're doing great. I hope you have a great day. I shall see y'all tomorrow. And have fun. Peace.